Audio should be up. Awesome. Hey everybody, how's it going? We're going to do a quick audio check to make sure that people can hear me okay. All right, testing, 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 testing. Hopefully the audio is working. Made some changes to the audio too, so hopefully you won't be picking up too much of the fan or the heater going off. So we've made some changes to the audio, so that's good. Awesome. Okay. All right. So we're going to wait just a few minutes for people to just come on in. But first, I just wanted to do some quick announcements. One, as you know, Feywild has been included. Go check that out. There's also a contest. You can go to our Reddit. So check out the Reddit contest for Feywild. There's one. Don't forget to also join our Discord. Now, Philip is going to be in charge of our chat, so he'll go ahead and provide links for the Discord and Reddit if you need it. If you want to follow along with this video, then don't forget to go check the video description. You'll find a map link. Click the map link, clone, and edit the map, and that way you can follow along with this stream, because we're going to be adding shadows to this whole map. That is going to be our stream today. We're going to be understanding a little bit of light and shadow with the fantasy battle map style. And we're going to cover lots of different things. We're going to be covering directional shadows, double shadows, light sources, all that stuff. So we'll be showing you how to create depth using light and shadow. I'm very excited. This is going to be a really fun stream. Okay, so I'm going to give everyone just a few moments to clone and edit the map and prepare themselves, and then we'll just jump right in. Definitely join our Discord server. We have an incredible community. Everyone there is super nice. Just don't forget that as soon as you go there, go to the roles channel and click the Inkarnate role, because if you don't click that Inkarnate role, then you won't be able to see all the channels in the server. So check that out. And also, Discord just added an events system to Discord. So if you're already on our server, you've already joined, go to the top of the channel list on the left side, go to the top, click events, and every single stream that we do, both on Discord and on YouTube, will be in those events. Just click that interested button and you'll be able to follow it, okay? All right, well, I think everyone's probably got it done this video, excuse me. Everyone has cloned this probably and they're ready to go. So as you can see, when you first look at the map, everything is really flat, right? You're looking at the map, nothing seems to pop out, it's super flat. So how do we resolve that super flat problem? Well, we're going to use light and shadow to do that. So we're going to do the interior first, and then we'll do the exterior last. Now, just to understand the layout of this map, the interior is made with the add mode of the mask tool. So that means if you go to paint, you can just click the B key, I believe it is. Let me check. The B key is the shortcut key. It takes you to the brush tool. And you'll see two options up here, the FG and the BG. Now you can switch between the FG and the BG with the 1 and 2 keys. Definitely recommend using shortcut keys. So 1 key FG, 2 key BG, okay? So this is a quick way to switch between your two layers. And the BG is going to be outside of the building, the exterior. And the reason why this is so that you can paint the interior and the exterior separately without bleeding onto each other. I'll give you a quick example. Like if I was to take this color here in the colors instead of textures, and I have it set to FG, and I go across like this, you'll notice that it's only staying within the interior, right? Same thing if I set to BG, it doesn't go into the interior, okay? So because we're going to be painting some shadows, and so to do that, we are going to want to make sure that the two layers are separate, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and delete these indicators now. You don't have to delete these indicators, but I'm just getting them out of the way. So I'm going to delete them, but keep them if you need them for yourself, just to remember. Okay, let's start with the first thing. Now, after you've finished your map, I always finish with light and shadow and then filters. So create your map first. Don't worry about trying to make light and shadows at first unless you want to, that's okay, but I like to save my light and shadows for last. Now, there's already some light sources already on here. There's one right here, a fireplace. You can't have shadow without light, so let's place some light sources. If you go into the catalog, you press that O key, and then you also press the F key to open up the catalog. You'll see that there's a bunch of stuff to choose from here. So there's candles, and we're going to use those. So I'm going to put a candle right here, and make sure it's set to the right layer too. Right, it has to be on top. So there's one candle there. We can place another candle on top of here if you want. And let's put a candle in, you have to make sure it's set to the right layer. And we can put a candle in here or a wall sconce. Let's try that. So if you just type in the search field at the top, wall sconce, a series of wall sconces should pop up. You can expand all to see all the options because some are in a group. And let's pick a wall sconce. Let's pick something simple. This is a nice, easy wall sconce. And let's place it maybe right here at the bottom like this. Okay. Now just zoom back out, and you can zoom in and out quickly by using your mouse scroll wheel. That's how you zoom in and out. And if you want to pan, all you got to do is just hold down your space bar, click, hold, and drag. That's how you pan. Okay. If you don't know where your what all the shortcut keys are, you can go click the K key, and it will show you. Oopsie, let's move this out. The K key, and you can see all the different keyboard shortcuts. Okay. Now you can just press the same button again to make it go away, or no, it doesn't look like it does. It goes into the shortcut. It's the yeah. Okay. So you just have to click the X or escape to go out of it. Okay. Let's keep going. All right, so you've placed your light sources. So the next step is to put light. Okay, so we have light stamps. You go back to that object, the O key, and I've already got light in my recently used, but you could go into the catalog with that F key, type in light in the search field, just like we typed in wall sconce, and select the light source the light that you want. Now, when I do my light, I like to do 2 light sources. Okay, I'm going to zoom in with that mouse scroll wheel and go to the first light source, and I'll show you. So the first one is going to be where the light actual is. It's bright, and so you would kind of expect that part to be bright. And then you zoom out, make it a little bit bigger, just place it, and then place it over it, and then drop the opacity down. Okay, so that way you have one bright light as the source, and then another one that's larger. And the reason why I made it larger is because I want it to interact with the stamps around it. And make sure that you also put your light sources on layer 5. I always recommend that. So I'm going to do that right now. And you can see as I click it, there's this object panel in the right panel, and you'll see all the objects that are there. Okay, all the objects are there. I put them on layer 5 so that you can verify what layer they're at. So it's really important. Check out your object list. Even the count is there, and you can search as well. Super important. So now that you've done that, you can copy and paste those same amount of lights. So I just copy and paste this small light and put it over. Oopsie, I think that's the candle. Let me go back in real quick. That's the candle. Let's see here. I think this is it. Oh, this light source has to go up. My mistake. Not the candle. I put the lit candle at the wrong layer. Let's put that down. Okay. So the light sources have to be on top. Okay. Let's click that first light source, the smaller one. Oh, no, right here. This one. There we go. There, copy it, paste, put one there. There's that larger one again. Copy, paste, put it down. Okay, and then you have the fireplace. Now I do believe the trophy is at layer 5, so we might have to take that down a layer. So that way we can put the light source. That way it won't show up because we're going to be adding a filter at the end. There's a reason why light sources stay at layer 5 because you don't want your, let's say, a night filter or whatever filter it is to diminish your light source. So we'll get to that later. I like to use filters closer to the end. Okay, so make sure that all your light sources are on layer 5. You can see that again in the object list on the right. I'm going to zoom back in. We're going to put a light source on this fireplace. Now the fireplace is different. You're not going to use a round light source because you don't want the light to go hit this fireplace. So if you go into the object, click this, you'll see there's a series of light sources to choose from. There's this half circle right here. This will work just fine. Just make sure it's set to the right layer. Let's put it here and put it down below, because technically if the light source is below this antler head right here, this head of this elk, then this would be a bit darker because the light is below. So it's not much light being cast on it. So you have to maybe go to the advanced settings and drop the brightness a bit. Okay, so that makes sense. Think about your direction of your light. So we're adding all the light sources and the lights. After we add that, we'll start playing with shadows. So let's see what other light sources we have. We've done this one over here in the kitchen space, the fireplace, and if you want, you can even add another circular light source right here if you want, because what this is doing, and drop the opacity down, and why I'm doing this is because the fireplace is a much larger light source, and so you want it to cast a little bit more light. So adding this extra bit of light right here, really helpful. We'll put it at layer 5 like we said, and I did drop the opacity a bit. So there's your light source. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so we're zooming out, and there's also a wall sconce right here. So we should also add a light source there. So let's put a smaller light right there on top, and then we'll take a half circle one and put it down like this, like that, okay? And that's a larger light source, so you could even put another light right over here and just drop that opacity. And then remember, the reason why we're dropping the opacity is because that's not where the light source is, but it's where some of the light is being cast. So we move this light a little bit this way, and so there's light there. Escape, we're at 36 changes, so we're doing okay right now. We don't have to make any changes. So now we've added the light sources. I am gonna save actually. Now that we've added the light sources to the interior, we're gonna save, and it's good to save often, okay? A great way to avoid your map getting ruined or to have what's called old data or corrupt data. You just need to save more often and to refresh more often, because as changes build up in your change log, so right here you'll see your change history, okay? The more and more this fills up, the more and more it could cause an internet timeout. So saving and refreshing, particularly refreshing, but you should always save, particularly after save, refresh, and that will clear that change history. So it's important to do that. Now we also want to factor in light sources that might be coming from the outside going in. So let's make this a night scene, and if it's going to be a night scene, then we also want to have some light from the quote-unquote moon. It's actually coming from the sun. The sun is giving its light, it's reflecting off the moon. So let's just say that we want the light source to be outside, so the moon will be outside, and we'll put it on the far right side over here. And I'll go ahead and just put a little indicator right here. Let's see, let's do this. So this is where our light source outside is going to be, like this. And I'm just going to use this as an indicator. I often like to use the path tool as a guide to help with the direction of a light source, to help with where a light source is, especially since you can't really see the moon in a top-down fantasy battle map or the watercolor battle map. You can't see it. So it's just helpful to use the path tool as a guide. It's really helpful sometimes. I do it all the time. So now that we've done that, we can move on to the next step. There's going to be the moonlight out here. Let's do the light going in from the outside as part of the outside light. So let's save that for later. Let's move on to shadows. So now how do shadows work? Now there are several ways, not two ways, several ways to do shadows. The first one is that you want to have the walls pop out. Now I think I used just a regular, let's see here, where are we? There should be, let me check, Simple House Composite right here, okay? So this whole stamp right here, I locked it on purpose so that way I won't accidentally select it. Now I did that for you as well when you clone the map, so you won't accidentally select it. But go down, click Simple House Composite, which is this whole house, and go over to the left side. Once you've selected it, the selection tool, this panel will pop up. Go ahead and switch over to your shadows. Go down to, there are three options: none, which is no shadow as you can see, an object, which is the default, and then a layer. Okay, now you can find your settings for your layer shadows and your scene settings right here, layer shadows. As you can see on the right panel, layer shadows under scene settings. we're not going to use layer. We're going to instead use object. And already you see that there's a little bit of a shadow around the edges there. Okay, that's nice, and that's what's called ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is what you do to create more depth, and so this light shadow, this little dark shadow around the edge, is causing it to contrast with the textures beneath, allowing it to pop up. So already we've added depth by doing that. Okay, now if you're not satisfied with the depth of this, then you can go ahead and paint in more shadows. So for now, let's save that part for later. Let's just go over object shadows, because much of the shadow work we're going to be doing is going to be using object shadows. Let's start with the fireplace, which is the largest light source. I'm going to use the path tool to create the direction in which your shadows need to go. So there are 3, 4, 5 objects here. Let's go ahead and create a guide. So this, like this, shadow is going to be casting that way. This shadow will be casting that way. This shadow will be casted that way. You see, it's all emanating away from the light source. That's how shadows work. Shadows project away from the light source. Okay, so let's select every single one of these objects. I'm just going to delete these paths, but you get the general idea. So I'll delete these paths, and you understand now where the shadow is. We're going to select every single one. Now every single one is selected. Go to your shadow option, left panel, object. Okay, it looks like I've already changed it, but I'll show you some things. So let's go back and just go to the default. Just going to go to the default, and first thing we're going to do is change the blur. Okay, and the blur is just how hard or how soft the shadow will be. Okay, now the closer an object is to a light source, the harder the shadow's edges will be. The farther away an object is from a light source, the more blur it will have. Now, look at these objects and look how close they are to the light source. They're pretty close, so their shadows are going to be fairly hard. So let's drop the blur down, and let's also move them down like this. Okay, and I realized this shadow did not get selected, so let me go back to object. Oopsie, that's a blend mode. Don't do that, don't do that. There we go, okay. So we've pushed all the shadows down, okay? And now there's another thing you need to keep track of when you're doing object shadows. If you're selecting multiple objects and there's one object that's really, really small and one object that's fairly big, you might cause the smaller, if you're editing both shadows. So I'll give you an example. So we have both of these selected, and if I go to the shadow options right here, and I go ahead and go down like this, let me just move over just a little bit, you'll see that the farther away that I use that setting, put it right here, you'll notice that the shadow begins to decouple from the object. So be very careful when you are using the horizontal and vertical offsets, so that you don't accidentally decouple the shadow from the object. That's a big no-no, okay? So I'm gonna go and put the cup back on top like this. And you should also know one other thing about object shadows. Object shadows can cause objects to cast a shadow on top of another object. If I was to use layer shadow, you'll notice that the shadow disappears, but it shows up when I have it on top of a texture. You can barely see the shadow there, but it won't show up on top of an object. So always remember, layer means that the shadow will only show up on the FG and the BG. That means that's just the canvas without stamps. Just the canvas is the FG, BG, okay? And the object shadow will project shadows onto another object. So kind of just keep that in mind. Now, once you've done that, once we've edited these object shadows, the next step is to also make sure they're facing the right way. Now the shadows, the light source would not be going just straight down. These shadows should be going at an angle. Let me put those guides back up real quick. I'll also do like this, and we'll also bring the width down so it's easier to see. Should have done this before, sorry about that. Okay, so that's the way they're going to be projected. This one seems to be already okay, both the cup and that stool there for the mug. But if we select this one right here, this stool, we click the object shadow, and we're going to move it a little bit to the left, like that. And then we're going to select this one, and we're going to move it a little bit to the right. Okay, so that one's done. So those are done. And these are pretty close. It's still pretty good. This one right here looks like it needs a little bit more work. Could make it a little bit darker because it's closer to the light source. And we can drop the hardness down. Let me zoom in and just take a look. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Just want to make sure the shadows are good. So that's that first step, is you're using object shadows to create directional shadows. Let's go ahead and move to the next thing. So let's move over to here where this little table is. And it's that same concept. We're going to use that path tool. Let's have the shadow going that way, the shadows going this way. Even these candles can have a light source, can even have a shadow projecting. Let's first just select everything on the table. So this thing, the candles, knife, the pie, and the plate that it's on. Oopsie. There we go. Okay, everything's selected, I think. And we're going to switch over to object shadow. So the shadows pop up immediately. I'm going to, oopsie, I should select them all again and put them back at their defaults. And you just go to default, you just click these X's, and the X buttons just go all back to default, okay? So they're all set to object. Now we need to control their shadows. So let's just start with this first one, object. We'll bring it down to say 2.4, and we'll go up. Let's just move over a little bit to the side so you can see it better. This seems to be blocking it. So we can do this, go up, and it should go a little bit to the left, or a little bit to the right, I'm sorry. A little bit to the right. Yep, that looks about right. Same thing with these two. Just drop the blur down to about 2 something. Bring it up like this, and a little bit to the right. Same thing with these, and I think since these are all relatively in close proximity to each other, we can just do all of them at once. So drop down, have the shadow go down as you would expect, and a little bit to the side. Let's, oopsie, bring the blur a little bit more. So that light is projecting like that. Let's go ahead and delete these paths for the guide. There's also this pot right here. So let's also put on object 1.4. Let's move it 2.5 and move it a little bit to this and a little bit up too, because the light source is projecting it like in that direction. So let's take a zoom out and take a look so far how our shadows are doing. So far, so good, I think. Let's go ahead and move on to this table right here. Don't forget, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Philip. Okay, so now we also have these stools. Now there are 2 light sources that are going on here. There's a light source on top of a table, like directly almost in the center. So you don't have to worry about adding too much shadow to that. And there's also the larger light source. Now, if you have 2 competing light sources in a room, the light with the brighter amount of light, that means casting more light, is going to be the dominant light source, and therefore its shadow will be more prominent. Okay, so I've selected all those stools. We're going to go to object first. I'm going to go change them back all to their defaults. Okay, we're going to bring the shadow down. Let's go with 3, maybe a little bit more blurrier because it's farther away from that light source over there. Let's bring it down. Let me move this over to the side here and see where this other light source is. This is the dominant light source. This source might not be strong enough to actually cause a dent. This one's straight on top, so the shadow can be below. Let's go ahead and select this object. I think that looks pretty good. Let's take a look. All right, this one right here, with the table, you could probably have the shadow be going all the way around instead of having it like this. And because I want a little bit of shadow so that way it pops on the top side. If I go down, you'll notice that it looks a little bit flatter at the top because there's a shadow here. Let's just do an all around. Let's do a trick where there's going to be 2 options. We're going to copy and paste this table. We're going to put it down below, and we're going to change the shadow like this. And that way we're utilizing using the shadow options of 2 objects of this table. So there's 2 tables. The first shadow option is a directional shadow going down. That's your vertical offset going down. And then the second table, which I had a light source, had the blur with no offset whatsoever, so that we could have a little bit of darkness around the table. And that's, again, that ambient occlusion, because you want that table to look like it's popping up. Otherwise, it just looks like it's a part of the floor. So there's that ambient occlusion. Okay, the next step is to, and there's nothing on the table, so there's no directional light sources. You only had to do it for if there's something on it. So there's nothing on this table. You could put something on the table you want and practice with those object shadow and then playing with the offsets. Let's go into the bathroom. Okay, so in the bathroom, there's a lot of objects going on. The light source emanates here. So every single one of these objects can have a light source, can have, I'm sorry, a shadow. Let's switch over to object. And I'm just going to go back to the default for everything. Let's go ahead and show where our directions are. So this light source, like this one's going to be going like, ooh, let's delete that. Let me take a look at that. That one, this one, and this one. Okay, that looks about right. So we're going to have to change each one individually. Let's start with this one. Go to around 2 or 3. And again, I'll move over so you can kind of see it all. Let's remove this. You can push this right panel in and out like this. And there's also a hide right panel shortcut key. But I'm just going to hide this so that way I don't have to keep moving it. So if I leave it over here, you can see what I'm doing. Go back to that customize object shadow option. And let's go up and then a little bit to the left, because we're looking at that light source like that. So projecting a little bit to the left like this. I think that should be okay. Maybe make the blur a little bit more. Okay, so that, and we'll be doing more shadow and light work. I'll be showing you other methods besides object shadow. So let's just do all the object shadows first. We'll move on to the next method. Let's go 2 point. 2 point should be fine. A little bit to the left and up, of course. Remember, you're using those path tools, those paths as a guide. Okay, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you have a good eye for it, don't worry about it. Let's also do these two. This one right here. Bring it to 2 point, whatever it is farther away, so it's okay if it's a little bit blurrier. Let's move it to the right and then up. We'll do the same thing with this one. A little bit to the left, oh, I'm sorry, the right. Gotta get my directions right here. A little bit more there and a little bit more up. I think that's about right. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Let's zoom out. It's always good to zoom out and take a look to see how it looks so far. And already the ambient occlusion of the walls of the composite stamp look good using that object shadow. The directional shadows look pretty good in the way that they're being cast. If you feel like they need more, you can just push them down more. There's always that option. You can go back to the shadow here. Let's say that you want them to project more, just have them go down more like this if you want to change it. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Okay, we'll go more into elongated shadows later. Okay, there's also these two objects here, and a shadow would probably be being cast because there's a light source here. This is up, so you wouldn't see a lot of shadow. You wouldn't see the light illuminating these. These would be a bit darker. They're already, brightness is already at 83. I dropped it. Add that shadow, and I'm going to leave it at 15 and then push it a little bit this way because there's this light right here kind of casting that shadow there. I'm going to quickly save my changes, and then we're going to move on to the painting segment, and that will include some flattening, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's just quickly save. Oh gosh, I'm glad that everyone is liking the tricks. I'll be showing you all kinds of neat tricks too, little hints and tips to make highlights and further shadows. I'm really excited to show you this. Pretty fun stuff. Okay, once we're done saving, we'll go in. So the next step is to do your shadowing. Now there are multiple ways to do your painted shadows. Well, actually, now that I see this, let's quickly add the shadow for this table. My mistake. I just realized I didn't do that. My bad. Go to Object. And as you can see, I put the shadow against that edge, or you can put it like this so that there's at least some shadow around the edge, like this, so there's some ambient occlusion, so it looks like it's popping out. We definitely want that, okay? And then, oh, I also forgot to do a couple other objects as well. These objects do not have light sources yet, but the light source is going outside, is coming from the outside, so we'll save that for later. Let's, oh, wait a minute, what happened to this? Oopsie, the shadow went away. Oh, there we go. My mistake. Not sure what happened there. What is going on here? Oh, I see, there's two of them. Ooh, how'd that happen? That was weird. Okay. And I want to drop the light source down. That was very awkward. I forgot to add a shadow to this one. I just need to bring it in a bit more. There we go. Okay. And we'll deal with painted shadows with that. So now we can go to painted shadows. Now, if you're going to paint a floor to add more additional shadows, you're going to have to flatten some objects. So you're probably going to need to flatten this rug and this rug. And in fact, we're going to drop the brightness of this rug just a little bit. There we go. So it's a little bit better. And we can even drop the brightness to this rug just a little bit as well. All right, so I'm going to flatten these. So you select both of them. You go to that hamburger menu. You'll see those three black lines. That's called the hamburger menu. You select, okay? And you're going to go down the options to where you see flatten. You'll see two options, flatten FG, flatten BG. Now remember, in this particular, you can use the FG and BG layers of the mask tool for many, many things, okay? Depends on the map that you're making. On this battle map, as I said earlier, the interior is the FG and the BG is the exterior, okay? So if you were to flatten to the FG, then you'll notice that, boom, they just disappear. They're now on the BG layer. So I'll go and click undo, okay? Select them again. And make sure to flatten them to the right layer, which is the FG. Boom, now they're flattened. Now, just so you know, once they're flattened, they're no longer selectable. They're baked into that layer, the FG layer. If we go down the list, if I type in rug, you will no longer see it. It's gone. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay. All right, so now that's been added. Now let's go over to your brush tool, that B key. Now there are several ways that you could go about painting, okay? First option, and the easier one because it's just less work, is just to use the black color, okay? And the black color, and then just drop the opacity down quite a bit. So you drop that opacity down on purpose because it's going to take multiple strokes to do your shadows. I'll give an example. So if I'm making a shadow, I make sure it's set to that FG. So I did it on the BG, wrong layer. Like this. You start with a low opacity first. If you were to go with a higher opacity, let's say 50, 53, it gets dark really quick, okay? You don't want to do that. Instead, you're going to want to go stroke after stroke. So you add one stroke of shadow, you add another stroke, and you just kind of make it darker and darker as you go in the areas that you want, okay? So that's one method. The second method is to actually use the same texture, the ground texture. You see, I've added it as a favorite. Now, just as a pro tip, whenever you edit or change a texture, like if you change the rotation, if you change any of the filter options or the placement options, immediately save it to your favorites. That's this button right here, okay? You click this little button, it goes to your favorites, your favorite tab, you just recently used, favorites, and it will show up in your favorites, okay? Now, as soon as you edit that one, it's gonna create a new one. So if I go to filters, you can change the brightness like this, and then you can just apply the texture again like this, okay? And it will do it differently. And you'll notice too that it goes over here. Now, if you're gonna flatten, do not use a darkened version of the ground texture because then it won't work over the rug, right? Because you can see that texture. Then it just looks like it's kind of translucent. You don't want that, okay? Instead, use the black texture or the black color. Okay, if you don't have any rugs, then don't worry about it. You can go ahead and just do it over here like this, okay? I'm just gonna use black because it's easier instead of having to add a different texture every single time and favoring it and changing the brightness. So we'll go with color, change it to black, and again, drop the opacity, okay? About 30 works for me, that's where I like to go. And we're gonna start with large swaths first, and we're gonna create, let's create zones where our shadows are going to be. So let's just say that over here, there's this much light. Let's also change that this way. Okay, so what we're doing is we're creating a zone where the light is and then where the darkness is going to be, okay? So you would kind of expect this area right here to be a little shadowy because there's no light source over there, you would expect this area over here to be shadowy, this area over here to have some shadow. You would expect some shadow to be over in this area, like this. And there would definitely be shadow in here, down at the bottom, below these things, okay? So I'm just marking areas where there isn't much shadow, okay? Again, Path Tool works absolute wonders. It's great to use as a guide for yourself or if you're doing a stream like me. So I'm gonna delete all these, or actually I'll just keep them for now. Just there, and then what I'll do is I'll just select all of them. Just go Shift, hold Shift, select one at the top, select at the bottom, select them all, and I'm just gonna drop the opacity down quite a bit. Not too much, enough to where I can see them, but they're not gonna get in the way of when I put down the shadow. So back to the brush tool, B key, and let's just start by going into the zones like this. So put some shadow in here. Just know that for every stroke that you apply, it's gonna get darker and darker. So just keep that bit in mind, okay? So be careful when you do it. All right, let's also do this one. There's gonna be some shadow in here as you would expect. Okay, and then add a second, do it again to add another layer like this. And what you're doing is you're kind of creating this transition faded effect, kind of a gradient, black gradient from dark all the way to brighter to where the light source is. Same thing here. And then here. Okay, and then we also want to add just a little bit of ambient occlusion underneath. So putting some ambient occlusion around the edge right here will help it to also pop out more. You notice how that table just popped out a little bit more? That's great. That's what you want, okay? Let's keep adding in more shadow. Let's say the light source ends about here and goes into right about here. And we're going to add a little bit more ambient occlusion around the walls so that way there's a little bit more darkness there to help those walls pop out more. So we'll do this. So add some more lighting here and here along those edges. That ambient occlusion really helps to make the walls pop out a lot. So we'll also do it here and along these edges. Okay, and along here as well. And since there's a step right here, we can put a little bit of ambient occlusion along here, but not at the top, just at the bottom, a little bit. And if you want, you can even add a little bit more to the table, like this. We'll add a little bit of ambient occlusion around this table and here as well. Put a little bit of more shadow work here just to add that in. Okay, so that's, oh, and let's go down. Let's cover this one as well. Just a little bit of ambient occlusion around everything else helps to make it pop out a little bit more, even around here and in here. So around this thing, add in some ambient occlusion. Okay, keep going, keep going. Shadow's looking all right, and let's put in a shadow right here like this, because you would expect a directional shadow to be cast from that light. And let's make this corner nice and dark. Add a little bit of shadow there. Okay, we're at 63 changes. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more ambient occlusion around these around these chairs, so they are at least popping out a little bit. Okay. All right, there we go. A little bit of shadow around these edges. It makes it nice. There we go. And we'll put one around here. And then there should be one underneath here as well, because this is a fireplace. And we want that to be popping out a little bit like this. There we go. I think that looks good. All right. So far, so good. Let's delete all of our paths. We don't need them anymore. Delete. And that's gone. Oops. Delete. Are you going to work? Did my... Uh-oh. My keyboard might have died. Let's try again here. There we go. Oopsie. My keyboard is not working. Shoot. That's weird. Ah, darn it. Okay. There we go. Oopsie. Sorry about the loud noise there. Okay, I'm just deleting all these paths where we had this directional shadow. Okay, let's make sure to also save. Make sure did I delete all those paths? I think so. Okay, good. Let's quickly save. Okay, we're doing good so far. Just always remember to save. Save often, it's really important to do. It's a web tool, so saving and refreshing often is good. And already you just look at it, you see that the depth is growing. Okay, so we will be able to we're going to paint in more shadows as well. We're going to want to put a little bit more here, maybe even change the brightness of this one right here to a little bit darker because it's more in the shadow, because this one is blocking the light from hitting this one, right? So this would be a little bit darker, as you would kind of expect it to be. Let's take a look at what our options are so far. Light source going into here. Let's take a look. You would expect some light to be going from that door right here. So let's add a little bit of light. Let's also bring up the brightness or the opacity just a bit. Up like this. There should be some shadow along here and maybe even casting out a little bit this way. Let me take a look. I think that might be okay. Not sure. Let me undo that. Maybe just around here to get some ambient occlusion in there around this. So that looks like it's popping out. That looks good. Don't forget to add that ambient occlusion. Super important. Okay, looking good. Okay, let's take a look. All right, I'm zooming out. All right, so far so good. Okay, let's also do the next technique. We're going to keep going with this. Now we're going to use the path tool to do two things, okay? We're going to use the path tool to create highlights and more shadow, because let's say that we want more depth, okay? Now, you would have to flatten everything if you wanted to add more depth to all of the objects. There's a way to avoid that. So let's do shadow first, okay? So if you go to your path tool, and then you change it to the flat line, no dashes. Bring the opacity down, okay? Because you want it to be see-through, or at least translucent. Change it to black, and you can even change, you can even have a shadow that's black and has a blur. We can drop it down a bit, okay? And let's bring the width all the way up. Let's just apply it and look and see how it looks so far. I think it could be a little bit brighter. About there, okay? So now we're going to use this path to create a shadow. So the shadow that we're going to be making is going to be this bathtub right here. Now, as you would expect, the light would cast a shadow of the tub into the tub a little bit. This edge will go into the tub, right? So if we go in like this with the path tool, like this, and go in along the edge like this, what we're doing is just filling it in. Oopsie, I went over a little bit. Let's not do that. My mistake. Like this. Go in. Don't touch that edge. And just fill it in like this. Oh, shoot. That was an error right there. My mistake. Something happened with the path tool. Okay. Maybe I just have to do it a bit slower. Okay. We're going to fill in this section. Oops, and there should be a little bit of curve to it too. The shadow's a little much in my mind, but it should be okay. Let's take a look. All right, so there's that shadow that's cast from the tub, right? Same thing here. You can put a little shadow right here along this edge to add some shadow. You could add a little shadow in this bowl right here, as you would expect, right? And then you can also add in another light source, because the light would be reflecting off the water, right? So if the shadow's here, then the light source would probably be somewhere around here, okay? So that's reflecting that light source, just so you know. Okay, so you're using the paths to also create shadows. The shadow here, the shadow in the bucket, the shadow in this bowl right here, all helpful. And we can take a look at other objects here. Look at this pan right here. This pan right here could also have a shadow along this edge. Just like that. Let's actually go in and make it a little bit more like this. There we go. And I think that's actually wrong. Let's rotate it and move it to the direction of the shadow. Okay, so we'll go like this. So now you've added a little bit of shadow to the pan, and you can also add shadows to, let's say you want the dark side of the candle. You can bring the size down a bit so you don't accidentally go too big, and just go along this edge like this to make it look like it's the dark side of the candle, like that. Same thing with this one. You can add in some shadows. You can say there's a shadow right here. Put a shadow in right here. Make it a little bit darker, more prominent there. The dark side of the mug as well, right? So that's, and you can also add in, let's say there's no shadow above this one. Let's add a little bit one right here as well. So there's a little bit of shadow over that one. Okay, let me just take a look. There's also the dark side of this bag. So let's go ahead and just add some along this bag here. So we add shadow there, and there should be a little bit of shadow maybe along here, and a little shadow along here as well. Let's go in, and even right there, and some right here. Okay, I think that's right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, much better. Path tool. Ah, yes, that to me helped. You got some shadow there, shadow along there, shadow in the tub. The shadow on the tub's a bit big, but it's okay. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to show you, is that the path tool can work great for that. The next thing that you can also do is create highlights. So now you just add, let's say, yellow, okay? And you have that color. And let's just put one down and just see how it looks first. Okay. Let's just do a test. Let's say that there's a light source along the rim right here. Okay, and let's go all the way up and change the blend mode. Let's play with blend modes a bit. We can change the blend mode to maybe overlay, and we can drop the opacity down so it's not too bright. Let's go with something around 45. Okay, so there's that. There's also some light along this edge right here, as you would expect. There's also going to be some light along this edge, as you would also expect, right? And maybe a little bit of light along this. A little bit of light along here. There's going to be some light along there. And if it's not enough, just increase the opacity. Okay. Same thing with this thing. If you want, you can add some light sources. Look in between here, the cracks, like there's light. If you want, you could put light sources along here, along the stool, even all along here if you want, like this, because that's where the light is. Okay. All along here, along the edge of this cup. And let's actually take that path up to a higher layer just in case I'm accidentally doing it. So you got highlight there, some highlight all along here as you would expect. Okay, and you can just do another layer to make it even brighter. Okay, let's put a little bit of light source along this table coming from the fireplace. Now, I can't really see it that well, so we'll just put another one on there like that. There you go. So you can kind of see that. Oh, yes, absolutely. You can use other blend modes. Okay, let's see here. That's reflected. That's reflected. I forgot to add one here. Let's add one in here. Okay, some light sources on that one. Let's put some light along here. So all you're doing is just adding a little bit of highlight to where the light source will be hitting the object. Okay, that's all you got to do. So we're going to put one here as well along this edge. This should be a shadow, so you shouldn't see one. That should be fine. Let's put one along here as well, along this edge, as you would expect. Let's put a little bit more. Okay, we can put a light source here on this edge. That's fine. And then some light along this wood as well. Or not wood, this plant right here. Okay, so you got some light reflecting there. Okay, yes, definitely experiment and play with blend modes. It's a lot of fun. Let's go back in here, make sure that I hit everything. Lights, there's some highlight there. You could even add highlight if you wanted along the rug. That's up to you. Okay, just wherever you think there's gonna be a highlight, that's up to you. Okay, I'm gonna put some right there. Okay. All right, and remember, there's going to be more highlight the closer it is to the light source. So just keep that in mind, okay? The farther you are away, add less highlight. The closer you are, add more highlight, okay? that's the trick for that. Let me take a look and make sure that I got everything. Just want to make sure. I didn't. I'm going to add a little bit more to this edge here, I think. Just going to add a whole bunch so we can get some good reflection in there. And then maybe even add one here to this edge. Okay. All right, so there's that step. Okay, you're using the path tool to use your shadows and your highlights. So that's one thing you can do with path tools. Now there is other methods also to create shadows, which I will show you, which are really fun. You can go to your object menu, press that O key, and you can actually take a light source like this and go down. Now if you don't see your advanced settings like this, click this and use your mouse scroll wheel to scroll down. Click filters and click brightness. Drop the brightness to 0 and it will immediately become dark. It becomes more of a shadow, right? You see that? Isn't that nice? So you have this nice darker kind of thing. And if you go ahead and just put it where you want it, and I would also drop the opacity of it as well. You don't want it to be so dark. Okay? So now the reason why I'm doing this is because, as you can see, on some of the wood in this corner, it's not. It's pretty bright. You would expect the shadows in here to be this wood, which is a wall. It's all one piece. I can't actually control. This is all one giant composite stamp, so I can't control that. So how do we fix the problem of making the wood inside some of the walls dark? Because they're all the same brightness, because it's all one stamp. This is one way to go about it, using this. And you can go to transform, and you can change the height. So I'll show you a little bit, see what it looks like. I've changed it to where it's going to be a little bit elongated. Okay, and then you just place it right on top, and you can change it too. If overlay doesn't work, you can go to normal instead, and now it isn't including that reddish color that we were having. We don't want that. So you just copy, paste, put that source there again, copy, paste, flip, rotate, and put it up against here like this, and you're kind of adding in the shadow. Now the more of those that you add, just know that when they add up, it'll get darker, so you can change that opacity if you want to fix that. Okay, and now I've copied and pasted it, so I can go ahead and place these where I want them to be. So there's that black source, black light. We're going to put it in this corner right here. Let's place it down like this so we can get a little bit of shadow in this corner. Okay, we're going to make it smaller. I think that looks okay. Copy, paste. Let's go in this corner. You'd expect a little bit of shadow to be in here. Let's bring the opacity up. Okay, so we're going to be using light sources to do the opposite, to also create shadows. Extremely helpful, I'll tell you right now. Let's see here. That's good. That's good. Light would be here, as you would expect. Fading out here. Here looks fine. Let's take a look where else there might be some shadows. This looks okay. Should be a little bit of shadow here from this light source. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. No, that looks fine. I think so far that's good. We added in the light sources that we wanted in these corners, so that's gonna help. Okay, now there are other, you can do this with a lot of other stamps, by the way, too. If you open that catalog and just go search all styles, you can type in all kinds of things to use as shadows. So let's go type in mist. Okay, if you type in mist, and you can go, there's this mist right here. You can use this too. You can just drop the brightness, go to filters, brightness all the way to 0. Okay, this will also work. Okay, this will work for nice dark areas that you want to put in. You want to put in more shadow in this area right here. Just drop that opacity down and keep getting more and more shadow into that side. Copy, paste. You can put it in over here on this corner if you want. Let's bring it down over to here if you want. Bring it over to here to this side. If you want to put more shadow over there, copy, paste it. Let's say you want to put more shadow over here. Okay, so these light sources and mist with brightness at 0, absolutely perfect. It works great for adding in your shadows. Okay, so you can use stamps to do that as well. let's go ahead and save. I made 98 changes. That's quite a bit. I really hope that all of these techniques are kind of helping you to kind of understand how shadowing works. And it looks kind of odd at first because we haven't added a filter yet, but don't worry, we will. Okay, we're gonna make a save and we're gonna apply the filter now just to see how it interacts with things and what to adjust. Okay, so we'll go to filters. There's no shortcut key, so you have to go down to this little magic wand item. It's just right above the pan zoom. And you don't even need to use that. I would recommend using your shortcut keys, and it's right below the grid tool, so you select that, okay? You'll see that there's an add a new filter, okay? Now you're gonna see there's 3 types of filters, color filters. These are the filters that we had before we added the filter tool, and there's gonna be some presets there. Now if you can't find the one that you want, you can click this plus button, and it will allow you to go through more of the options, okay? There's also texture filters, which are a texture that's going to be applied to your map. And there's also HSBC. Now, if you don't know what HSBC is, it's hue, saturation, brightness, and contrast. Just like there's an HSBC filter for your objects, there's also a filter for that. So let's choose night filter. Okay, if I put the night filter down, we'll wait for it to go down. Here, it's already on layer 4. Uh-oh, is my filters not working? I don't think it is. Let's just save and refresh the page. I think I've reached that point where I need to refresh. So I'm going to save. Then we're going to quickly refresh, and we'll keep going. I'll show you more and more tricks. Don't forget, if you have any questions, feel free to ask Philip. Or if you know your own techniques that you like to use, please share them in the chat, because this is just the way that I do shadowing. This is not the official way to do shadowing. You can do shadowing any way you want. There are tons of different techniques, and really the technique that you use for shadowing just depends on the map that you're using, okay? So kind of keep that bit in mind. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly refresh the page. Okay, let's go ahead and log in. Light and shadow, edit map. Sorry about the wait. Okay. Just waiting for it to load. Thank you for your patience. Okay. All right, so as you can see, the night filters is working now. So let me turn off the night filter so you can kind of see what it looks like. So adding that night filter gives it that extra bit of darkness, which is nice. Okay, and it's already on layer 4. Let's just make sure that all our light sources, excuse me, are already on layer. Let's also take all the paths. Let's select all the paths. So you go select tool, and then up here at the top, you'll see a series of options. If you just select that path tool, only the paths will be selected. Okay, and what I'm going to do is select all, and then bring all of them up to layer 5. Okay, because I don't want them to be diminished by the night filter. So let me go back, show filter. Let's just zoom in and take a look. You'll see that the highlights indeed are there, and they pop out because the filter is not affecting them. So that looks nice. So you have all this nice extra little highlight. So remember that. Make sure that your light sources, and that includes your paths, highlights, your path shadows, put them on layer 5, okay? Because you don't want this night filter right here to affect it. Watch what happens if I take that night filter. You see what happens? It immediately drowns out your light sources, and it looks bad. So don't do that. Drop it back down to layer 4. So again, layer 5, drowned out. Layer 4, light sources are sticking out better, okay? So always remember that. All of your light sources, no matter what it is, whether it's a stamp or a path, make sure it's set to layer 5. You want it to be above the filter. I'm going to delete this because I know where the light source is going to be outside. We're getting close. Let's take a look here. Now, one thing that we can also do is continue to make sure that the light projects more. Like right now, all the lights seem pretty much like they should be a little bit more to it. So let's go and fix that problem. Now, whenever you've changed the selection method of the kind of things that you want to path, make sure you go back to all, because you'll be like, well, wait a minute, why can't I select anything else? It's because just go to this, because it will only select stamps. I'm just going to do all. It should be fine. So it should all be selected. Okay, paths are all at the top. That's fine. Perfect. Let's go ahead and take a look at these light sources that we have. So there's a light source here, and there should be a larger one right here. Let's go ahead and boost the opacity of that so it pops out a little bit more, like this. And let's make sure it's centered too. So we're adding a little bit more light. Same thing with this one. Let's increase the brightness just a bit. Okay, let's actually add another one. Is this on the right layer? I think so. Copy, paste. There we go. What we're doing is just gonna add a little bit more light so that it pops out a bit more. So once you've applied the filter, it doesn't hurt to go back. And the only reason why I'm recommending doing filters of a little bit after the shadows is because that way the filter won't cause any lag. Because the more and more filters that you have, it can cause a resource drain on your machine and cause a little bit of lag. And so not everyone has a powerful machine. So if you do filters a little bit last, so that way you won't cause some lag on your machine, okay? So to me, needs to be more light. This light source is drowned out because it's on layer 4. So all we have to do is just go ahead and take a light source like we had before and put it down like this. Okay, so now that light is popping out a little bit more. That's nice. Copy, paste. Let's go ahead and push it out even more. Make it nice and big. Drop the opacity down quite a bit. And let's put that light source all the way over here. Okay, because you would expect this fireplace to light up the majority of the room. It would light up much of the room. So let's put it here. Right there should be okay. So the light is filtering in. We can even change the advanced settings, go to filter, and we can change the width and height. So let's go out a little bit more this way. Okay, so that light is filling in a lot of the space. So this is where the, oopsie, I think, did I accidentally undo it? No, I didn't. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure. I think that looks much, 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 much better. Same thing with this one. I think we should add a little bit more light to this one. There should be a little bit more light. Let's go with that over here. Okay, I think that looks good. Make it a little bit bigger. Keep going, keep going. There we go. All right. So all we're doing is just trying to make the light source interact better with the, just to interact better with the filter. Okay, that's all that we're doing is messing with those lights. So let's go ahead and do the next step, which is we're going to have the light source coming from the outside going in. So you have to recognize where your moon is. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go to our objects O key. We're going to select that light source. Let's pick this half circular one that we had before, and we're going to drop the saturation all the way to 0 because we want it to be a little white, okay? Because the moon is white, bluish color, okay? And so the moonlight's not going to be yellow like a candle or the sun. And so dropping that down will make it white because by dropping the saturation, you're removing all the color, just rendering it to black and white, okay? So for the light source, as you can see up here, it's just white, okay? And that's good, okay? Because that's the kind of color we want from the moon. We're going to copy and paste it and then just drop it down even more, okay? And then put it a little bit to the side so there's a little bit more brightness there. So this is where the moon's light is coming from, okay? It's obviously not high up. Now you should know a little bit about directional light, okay? So if the moon is over to the right side, and if it depends on the time of day where your shadows will be projected. Now you should know that during dawn and dusk, okay, your shadows are going to be very elongated, okay, because the light is on the horizon casting a shadow, elongated shadow, okay? If let's say that the moon was high above going down, okay, high above, your shadows are not going to be elongated. They're just going to be a little blurry and the shadows are going to be facing down. So let me show you first what I mean by that. So if the moon was high, just straight up in the air, oopsie, I think I need to select, oops, are the trees not selectable? Did I goof that? Let me check. Maybe the exterior is all covered up. Let me take a look. There we are, tree. Okay, I'm gonna unlock it. So I locked all the trees. So just so you know, if you want to follow along this part, look up tree, that's the group, open up the group, okay? And then all the trees will be in it, all right? So if the moon was directly above you, then you would just switch to Object Shadow. And we're going to go like this. And you'll see there's a shadow. I'm going to bring it all the way up to dark. Then the shadow would look like this. See, the shadow is not there when I move it. Whenever you move an object, the shadow gets disabled because it causes lag. So if you ever see that, you're like, wait a minute, what happened to my shadow? Come back. Okay, don't freak out. It's just the shadow is disabled, okay? So this is what a shadow would look like if the moon was directly above you. So there's not a lot of work that you have to do. That makes it nice and easy. And I would recommend that if you're new to it, just have your light source always be at the top for natural lighting, whether it's the sun or the moon. That way it's just easier, okay? So just keep that in mind, that when the sun or the moon is directly above, the shadow is going to be just straight down. Use your object shadow. Bring the opacity of the black shadow all the way up. And it's okay if you use a default 15, okay? But now if you want a little bit more to your objects, if you want a little bit more interesting shadow, some direction, then you can select all, go to Object, okay? And then what you can do is you can move them all to one direction. Oopsie, is it working? I think it's working. Let's also bring this down a bit. So if you bring it a little bit over like this, you'll see the shadow is being cast like this. So there's the shadows being cast. The moonlight is over there, okay? And so the shadows are obviously going to be cast going to the left. The light source is on the right, so therefore the shadows are being projected to the left, okay? Now I'm going to have it to where the moon is not rising, but instead is going to be about middle of the road. So let me just show you what that'll look like real quick with the path tool so you have a little bit of a guide. Let's just say that this right here, let's go with full opacity. There we go. Bring that width up. Okay, and make it white so you can kind of see it better. There we go. Let's just say that, oopsie, this is not working the way I want it to. Let me zoom into an empty space so you can see it. There's a nice empty space here. So let's just say that this is the arc of the moon and the sun, a very screwed up arc, so please forgive me. So now you have this arc. So where I'm going to have it is, this is going to be dawn or dusk. Okay, that's those points. This is the ground right here like this. Okay, and if you have the moon directly above, then the light source is going to be casting down like we showed earlier, right? But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to have mine to be where the moon is right here, casting a shadow like this. Okay, so I don't have to worry about elongated shadows in this case, but I will show you how to do elongated shadows as well. But in the end, this is probably what it's going to end up looking like, and I can show you more detailed ways. Okay, so let me quickly delete this example. Okay, just this is the arch. Okay, this is the ground. Obviously, the ground is not really flat. The earth is round, obviously. And then you have these 2 points at the ends are going to be your dawn and dusk. Okay, so I'm going to delete that real quick so that you have an understanding of of directional lighting. Okay, so now I'm going to select all these trees, and I'm just going to turn the shadow off. So that's the first one that you can do. There are also other techniques that you can use. You can just straight up take a shadow, take a stamp, go ahead and put these at layer 5. Okay, it's going to be below, and you can drop the brightness all the way to 0 and just do this. Okay, and you can place your shadows like this, and you can just copy and paste, rotate them, set it to, you can go to object, make sure it's all set up. Okay, the opacity is right. Just want to verify everything's right. 45, good. You can just go ahead and just place a bunch of stamps like this, and this will help also kind of create your shadow. So that's another method that you can go about doing it. So you can go like this, just use the stamps itself to create the shadows. Okay, so there's that. All right, and if something is in a shadow, like this particular is in a shadow, you can just drop it down to where it's in the shadow. This is a small tree, so you would expect it to be in the shadow. Drop, or not the opacity, I'm sorry, the layer, my mistake, over here. Just go all the way down to -5 so that it's in the shadow. Okay, so keep in mind that every time that you have a bush or tree that's small, obviously it's not as tall, it's going to be lower down. Make sure you drop that down a layer so it's in the shadow. This one too, it's at -5, just drop the brightness down, okay? So always keep that bit in mind, that if something's in a shadow, you want to drop it down, okay? So that's that first thing, okay? You can do it that way. Let's just go ahead and undo all these changes. I'm going to remove all these shadows. I'm just going to do a bunch of undos, or I can just go to the change history up here, go to change history. Looks like I've got a bunch of objects that I added. So if I just go back to update one object, restore, delete that one and delete that one, okay? So there's that. Now there is another method. You can also use stamps. Let's say that you are doing an elongated shadow, then I would recommend going to your object, open up your catalog with the F key, go into your, select search all styles, okay? As you can see, we added some holiday special stamps. I forgot to mention that in announcements. Type in pine, okay? And then there should be pine trees from the fantasy regional style. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the pine tree as a shadow itself. Now there are some caveats to using stamps as shadows, and I will show you what those are, okay? So now if you're doing, let's say the moon is rising and you want to show elongated shadows, rotate like this. Make sure they're set to layer -5. Drop the brightness, and don't forget to drop that opacity, okay? And you're going to create elongated shadows. So just copy and paste these, and make sure that you hide the hide the stump, or if you want, you can show the stump. I'm just going to put underneath like this. So we're just going to keep copying and pasting a bunch of these. If you don't want the same one, you can just switch over. It'll give you a whole bunch of options. This is a big one right here, as you would expect. There's this huge one right here. Okay, and just, you know, the shadows will overlap. Let me put two stamps on top of each other. Okay, you're going to see that right here it gets darker. Okay, so just know that overlapping stamps will cause that, and sometimes that's okay, because when two shadows overlap, of course they're going to be darker. Why wouldn't they be? Okay, so that kind of makes sense. So let's keep adding in all of these custom shadows that are stamps, and just keep placing them like this. Okay, and one thing you want to also factor in is the shadows are below. You can bring them up or bring some of the shadows down if you want them to be affected. Okay, so if you want, let's say this tree right here is in this shadow, bring it all the way down to 0 so it's in that shadow. Same thing with this one, bring it all the way down to 0 so that the shadow is affecting that. So just remember that when you have a shadow, you want to make sure that if there's a stamp in the shadow, the stamp shadow, make sure that you drop that stamp that's on top, that's in the shadow below, so that way the shadow affects the stamp. See what happens if I take this and go up? You see, it's no longer affected. So to bring it down. So it's really, really important that you keep in mind that when you're putting down these kind of shadows, okay? So let's keep putting down some more. I think let's put one here like this, and one like, oopsie, I have to go back into trees, my mistake. Okay, let's put a shadow in here like this. Oopsie, I have to drop the brightness down, my mistake. Okay, so let's take a look here, oopsie. And make sure to drop, again, object down, so the shadow is hitting that. Okay, so that's super important when you're doing that. I'm actually going to select all these pine trees and actually drop the opacity just a little bit more. They seem like really hard shadows. I think bringing them down a bit would be a little bit better. I actually like that a little bit better. Okay, that looks nice. So that's how you would do elongated shadows, okay? By just using the stamp from Fantasy Regional Style and then just putting it down. And then make sure, again, to make sure that the shadows are overlapping the stamps beneath it, so that way the shadow looks like it's affecting the stamps, okay? Okay, now we're at 74 changes. I'm going to quickly just make some saves, and I'm fine. I'm just going to leave it actually at elongated. I kind of like it. We'll leave it there. So we'll quickly save, and we're going to show you how the light source affects stamps inside the building. Okay, so we're going to do that next. Yay, Christmas stuff. Absolutely, I'm so excited. Okay, don't forget to ask Philip if you have any questions. So we have a light source right here. You would expect a light to go into the building, right? You would expect that. So we go back to Object, select the white light source that we had before, and just choose, let's say, this window one. Let's bring it back down in size. Let's just place it down. Now there is no bar in the center, so that light source is kind of problematic. So we're going to fix that problem, okay, by just taking a piece of wood and making a second bar in the center. Wood, like this, and I think you can just take one of, let's see here, this one. And there should be some of these squares right here, perfect, and just put one right there. Okay, and let's bring it down a layer. There we go. Okay, so this will fix the inconsistency with the shadow, with this shadow, of course, so that will help. There we go, down like this and projecting. There we go. And so you have a light source there. I'm just going to increase the brightness a little bit too so you can kind of see it. I don't want it to be too much. You get the general idea. So the light source is going in, right? Now you're also going to expect the bed and the dresser and the guitar to all have an object shadow and projecting away from the window. I've already added in there, but you see the X and Y offsets. I'll go ahead and just do them anyway so that you know how to do it. So we'll go back to your defaults. As always, 2 point something works just fine. And just go a little bit to the left like this. And then that way that light source is projecting away, or this shadows are projecting away. You can push it even further this way if you want. Just know that the bed is huge, so the shadow won't decouple from the object, but obviously the guitar will. So we can go ahead and just push the shadow of the bed further out, but then take this guitar and fix this to where it's not. So like this, okay? Just always remember that with shadows. Okay. Oh, there is no snowman. Well, maybe we can fix that. Okay, so the shadow is there. That looks good. Let's also go ahead and do some more painting because we should make underneath the bed dark. This should be dark here. This corner would be dark. So let's go back to our shadows. Go to color, black. Remember to drop the size down and drop the opacity to around 30. Okay, if 30 is just not dark enough on first stroke and you don't want to go do 80 strokes to kind of get that darkness that you want, then just bring it up a little bit more if you want. So let's just say 40, okay? Less work. Make sure it's set to that right layer. Right now it's set to BG. We want to switch over to FG, one key. Okay, let's add in our dark shadows in this corner. Again, some ambient occlusion. Okay, maybe add a little bit of ambient occlusion along this ledge because we want it to pop out. That's what we want. This needs to pop out more. So let's go ahead and add some ambient occlusion around the bed, including this so it pops out more. There we go. Hard line here, some hard line here. Okay, we'll add a little bit more darkness in right here as well. Like this, there we go. And let's just drop this stairs brightness down just a bit. Just a little bit, okay. Make sure it's not too much, otherwise it's too noticeable, okay. Light source there. I think that looks pretty good so far. Light came in, shadows here. Let's make the shadow of the guitar just a little bit darker. So I'll just go in and there we go, a little bit darker. And we want to include some highlights of that. So moonlight or sunlight reflecting off the moon. Go to the shadow, go to your path tool, use white, have the shadow be white. You can bring the blur down if you want to something small. And let's just put down one path and just see how thick it is. And let's go to overlay. And let's drop the opacity down. Okay, let's apply a stroke to it and just see how it looks to make sure it's right. So we go here, along here, and along here. I think that looks about right. Add a little bit more reflection there. Let's also add a little bit of reflection along here. There we go, a little bit nicer there. Oops, that's a little bit too much. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, along there. Let's also have some light be here, because you have this bright light on the window, but then on the outside there's not much light there, and you're wondering, well, what's the difference between this? So what we're going to do is go ahead and add in another light source here to fill in the darkness that's right here, because it just looks wrong. And then we'll also add in another light source right here to make sure that this area is kind of bright, and we'll bring it up like this. There we go. Put it here. So we don't want the light source to be like, well, wait a minute, why is it so bright right here but not bright over there? Okay, we can also just bring down the brightness if you want, so it won't be so much like that. Problem is you just can't really see it. Okay, there we go. I think that looks all right. Yes. And then also we're going to do those black shadows as well. So let's go ahead and select this. Just so you know, if you don't have to keep changing paths settings, just select another path, and then when you go back to the path tool, those settings will already be there. Okay, so just kind of keep that bit in mind. So what I'm going to do is create more depth on some of the stamps here. Like there's maybe should be some more shadow behind where the bed is, along the bed, on the side, a little bit by the pillow. There just needs to be a little bit more brightness, a little bit more shadow. So let's do that. Let's put a little bit more shadow here, like this, and maybe on this side, as you would expect. Some shadow here on this side. We're just adding a little bit more shadow. Add a little bit of shadow here. Shadow on this edge right here, like this. Add a little bit of shadow on this edge. A little bit of shadow here. And we can even just add a little bit like this. Okay. All right. And then let's put shadow along, just a little bit along this edge here. And then we'll put more along this edge. And we can accentuate some of the shadows that are already built in. Let's just zoom out and just make sure. Those look a little too much. So we just select them again and just drop the opacity down. I don't want to over accentuate it. Okay, there we go. That looks a little bit better. Oh, and it's this giant tree. I'm just gonna go ahead and lock that so I don't accidentally select it. So you do have kind of this moonlight, and I'm gonna go ahead and change it to where this is a little bit smaller going this way, like this. There we go. Okay. All right, so you do have moonlight going in this way. We also need to do the shadow of the structure. So we go back to our brush tool, color, and there are a lot of options in which you can do this. You can use this. You could say, okay, let's just think about how tall this building is. 1 floor. Okay, so there are multiple ways going about this, and to me, this is kind of a tricky part to do. You can, if you have a stamp, then you can just go apply it like this. If you press Enter, make sure it's set to that BG Layer 2 key. I'm using the what is this? The rectangle shape. If I just press Enter, this whole area will go black. And I can do it again right here. Oh, actually, wait a minute, my mistake. This is all on the BG layer. So I can just go like this, all the way across like this, and go like this, and just say that this is the shadow of the building projecting. So if I press Enter, this whole area will turn black, and you see those hard shadows. Make sure too that you drop the opacity or drop the brightness of the tree that's in that shadow. So this one right here, so if you go back to tree, open it up, click this, drop that brightness. So because it's in the shadow. If this one is not, you can't put a shadow here, just flatten it to the BG, and you'll see that, oopsie, I should have applied the shadow first, but we can just fix it by just adding a little bit of shadow like this. So you can kind of fix your oopsies. Fix your oopsies, because I do that. There we go. A little bit darker. There we go. Okay. All right, so you've added in that dark shadow on that side, and we also want to consider that this is in the shadow, so we want to drop the brightness down of that stamp as well. And then we also have to put shadow along this edge as well, projecting, so we can go ahead and take this tool and go like this across and push just like this maybe, like that. Enter. Okay, you have that section. And it looks like it's just a flat, there could be a flat roof there. And then we also want to add a chimney as well. So let's go across like this, press Enter. So you have a shadow for the chimney like that. Okay. Looks like a loop. All right, so you have that, and you can also add in directional shadows if you want. Here's a good example of doing this. Let's type in roof real quick. Oopsie, not wood, roof. No, I don't know how to spell roof. Okay. There should be some corner pieces. Let's say that you want to have a rounded edge right here. Just connect these two, make sure they're the right size. So you want to make sure that this connects like right here, like this. Go ahead and drop that brightness and then drop the hue down like that, and make sure it's relatively around the same brightness as the shadows that you just painted on. And remember, if they overlap, you will see it. So I'm going to zoom in real quick, and you can kind of see there is some overlap. So we're going to switch over and make sure that they don't overlap. That looks good. Let me turn off layer shadow and just check to make sure that that looks good. Yep, they look pretty, like they blended fairly well together. Let's go up one just a little bit. Okay, so you have the shadow right there like that. Okay, I'm going to quickly save at 67 changes. Yes, definitely not a guitar. It is a lute. I like to play my lute. Okay. So far, so good. Let's just zoom out and take a look. And it's always nice to kind of go over your map and look at other things, maybe some things that you missed. What more is there? What more is there to do? Do I need to put more ambient occlusion on the side here to make this pop out more? We could do that by just going to your color again. Go to this brush, a little bit bigger, and just add a little bit of dark. Make sure to BG, make it a little dark along this edge like this. So that way you have a little bit more ambient occlusion along those edges. Okay, so you got this nice, hard, dark edges for that ambient occlusion. That looks nice. And we can add a little bit more along here too to make the outside pop a little bit more. So we're going to add a little bit more ambient occlusion to these edges to make them pop out more. We just want the building to pop out so it doesn't look like it's just completely flat like it did before. Okay, and we're going to add some here on this edge as well. Don't worry if it contradicts the light. That's okay. You would expect a little bit of light, little bit of shadow. Yeah, around here. We're just adding this nice ambient occlusion. Put it all the way around the whole building. And I'm also going to select every single tree as well. So if I go back down to tree, I'm also going to select every single tree except for these pines. So let's go back to control and just unselect. Let's go with summer trees. Go summer. Oh, oopsie, my mistake. Type in summer, select all, go to object. Okay, and I'm also going to just turn off the directional of the offset and just add so that there's a little bit of shadow around the edge so that that way it looks like they're popping out more. So not also did we add those directional shadows with the pine tree stamps, but we added an additional object shadow to make these pop out even more. Okay, so that's the last step for that. And then once you've finished all your light sources, if somebody sees something that you think should be done in here, feel free to speak up in the chat. If you think that we have some time to kill, we have like another 35 minutes, so we can add some more shadows, more objects, decorate this more, add in some filters. I think more filters would be a good idea. We could add a new filter. One I like to use in scenes like this is a vignette. Okay, and all the vignette's going to do is just add an additional shadow around the corner. Okay, now just be careful when you're using vignette, because with the vignette, the shadows, with the vignette, the light source could get blocked off by the vignette. Okay, so if you feel that might happen, like if you have a light source in this corner and there's a vignette there, just make sure that the light source is above the layer that the vignette is on. Okay, so if the light source is up here in one of these corners where the vignette is, then just drop it down a layer, like you just drop down the layer to what you want. So that way it doesn't accidentally affect the light source. So always keep that in mind. Oops, what else needs shadows? Fix your hearth, hun. Fix my hearth. My hearth needs shadows. Where does my hearth need shadows? I don't know. Where? I got shadow all along here. That looks fine. Not sure what other shadows to add here. There's shadow all along here. Joy, please tell me, what am I missing? Help me, guide me. I need assistance. Okay, so we did add that vignette. I'll wait for Joy to respond, and we can add more shadow to the hearth if it needs it. But we've added a vignette, okay? Now there's other things that you can do to set like a tone, and you can just go back, add shadow. Let's say that you want some warms, cools and warms. For me, a default filter to make stamps work out better is to use cold and warm, cool and warm. And that cool and warm will add in some purples and stuff. So if I go on here like this, if I go full in, you'll see what it looks like. It will add a very strong purple tint. Honestly, that looks pretty good to me. You can drop it down to here if you feel this, because the warm cool looks good. Stone to wood, stone to wood. Oh, you mean right here in the back? Oh, there should be some stone right here. Yep, I think that might have been an issue with the composite stamp that was put there. Are you talking about this stone right here? Yeah, we could add a little lip. If you go to concrete, and it looks like there needs to be a transition between the wood section and the stone section. And so you can just take, like, let's say, let's use one of these, a small one, bring it down like this, go to transform, and we'll go with width, like this. Okay, let's just see how this turns out. What I'm going to do is try to create some kind of transition between the floor of the fireplace. Let's also go with width, and then, oopsie, not width. Let's go with height. My mistake. Oopsie. Let's get it going here. This is always kind of complex. Oopsie, it's all the same. Shoot. Let's see here. This, it can be complicated. I might have to flatten this to the FG. Let me first get the shadow right. Object. Okay, so if this is raised up, if this is a going down, then we want a shadow projected down like this. Okay, and we can make the shadow not so hard. Okay, and I'm gonna take this, and I'm also gonna flatten it to the FG. So flatten to FG. Okay, and what we've done is created a little lip. Okay, and the shadow goes down, so that will fix that issue. I think that's what it is. Okay, cool. Yes, sweet. Yeah, I do like that. So at least there's some kind of transition, because I do understand. There usually, if you have, I like to put stone floor at the base of my fireplace, because that way, you know, if like a piece of spark or something falls on the ground, then it will land on the stone instead of the wood floor, and then, I mean, that's not what you want, right? You're just hanging out, enjoying a nice hot dog or whatever it is you're eating, and then boom, your house catches on fire. And you're just like, I should have put stone in front of the fireplace. Maybe I shouldn't have put that extremely nice flammable rug in front of the fireplace. You know, don't do that. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, so I've added that warm cool filter. That's one thing that you can add. But there's also a whole other host of filters that you can add. Let's say that you want some more bluish tints. Okay, you can use the use the winter. I'll go full blast so you can kind of see it. It adds this kind of eerie-ish blue color to it. Let's go ahead and just remove that one. You can also add in, let's say, a red one. So you want to go red sky if you want to add more red into your map. Let me go all the way up so you can kind of see it. So it's going full kind of red. You can go that way. It does drown out some of that white, so kind of keep that in mind. I actually like the blue better, but that's just one way you can go about it. I also want to recommend another thing that you can do if you want to have filters affected on different layers. You can export your map, add a filter, and then paint on the export on top, and then put another filter on top of that. So that's not a technique that I use very often because it's just an extra step, but it is a pro tip. I think Cheryl from our Discord, and I think Jeremy and a couple other people use that technique. And I actually can't really explain it very well without taking another like hour. So if you have been to our Discord, go over to our Discord, and I think Cheryl SL Mumby, go ahead and talk with Jeremy Forever, or Jeremy DM Forever, I think, also is on there. These people, these power users are really good with this technique, far better than I am, but definitely go look them up. Okay, so there's also some other things that I want to do to show you. You can also add like a reflection with metal. This is really cool. If you go to effects, oh, actually, I think it's spell. 1 second. Spell, like this, show, it's spells, but if you go select right here, spell, like one of these right here, and it's like a little piece of reflection. And so if you have any metal objects, you can just place them down wherever your highlight is and use it as a, let's go to normal. Let me just see which one is the best one to use. Lighten, color dodge, overlay, soft light. There's a whole bunch. I'm not sure which one is the best one to use. Maybe just that color dodge works fine. Let's just use that one. And let's see, what other metal? There's a metal here, so don't be afraid to put it against this plate right here. And then let's see, what other things can we do? You can put a sparkle against this mug. Let's see what else we can do. We can put one right here or rotate it. And all it does, and oh, see, I forgot to mention, you should put all of these on layer 5 too. So let me just put spell, select all matching, and put them at layer 5. There we go. That way they're a little bit more prominent. You can see it better there. You can see it better there and there. It's not affected by the filters. I just want to make sure. Ooh, we can also put one right here as well against this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, sparkle there. We got some reflection there and there. Reflection off of that. Yeah. Don't need to put one on the lute. I think that the lute slash guitar. Okay, yeah, I think that looks good. Let me check the chat, see what else. Hello, everybody. Okay. 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 Yes. Yes. If you don't know where those sparks are, or these, it's under spells. It says effects, but it didn't pop up when I typed in that. So instead, just type in spell right here, spells. Okay. Also, if your object is farther away from the light source, diminish some of the sparkle a little bit. So the farther away, you would expect a little bit less. Okay, so I'll drop that down about 50%. This one's close, so that one can sparkle quite a bit. This one right here is fairly close. That should be fine. And I think this one's not too bright to where it doesn't look right. So I think that looks okay. I'm just going over these light sources. There's some other things that you can do as well. I'm going to add in just a little bit more. Let's go ahead and add in some more artifacts. And let's also add in some dirt on the floor. Like, these floors look super clean. And so one thing I like to use is this dry grass texture. You just type in dry group. Don't type in dry group. Just type in dry, and it should be under, let me type in more so it will go right to it. Dry grass. Okay. This texture right here works great as like dirt. Okay. You can also use other stamps for it, but this one works really well as dirt. I'm going to also drop the brightness down a little bit. And you see that preview. I'm also going to drop the size down, go to placement, drop the size, okay, and drop the opacity down quite a bit too. 22 or 35 should be fine. And I'm going to create what's called flow of traffic. So the flow of traffic starts here and then kind of, oopsie, I'm set to the wrong layer, by the way. Layer 1 or FG1, my mistake. And it's not bright, it's not enough. I can't really see it. Let me try again. There we go. You can start to see a little bit of that dirt texture. This works great for creating your flow of traffic so you know where people are going. So it's a flow of traffic in here. Definitely put it on the rugs. Okay, so it looks like there's some dirt. Yes, these are messy people, I know. They're messy, they're messy. Just a little bit of dirt looks nice. Just me, I personally like adding a little bit of that for flow of traffic. If you don't want to paint it on, there are some other filters that work really well. You can go, just add a new filter, go to texture, and it's not here. So you can click plus, then click the catalog, open up the catalog. It's under parchment. Scroll down, you'll see it right here. It says old paper. I love adding this texture. You should switch over to overlay. And I'm going to go all the way up. Okay, now you see that it added a lot more dirt and grime and texture. I don't normally like to have it at 100%, so just drop that down to about 66%. Let's say a little further down, a little bit more, about 58%. And what this old paper does is just adds an extra layer of grime, some extra artifacts to kind of make your floor not look so just totally clean, because I do not like them. I don't like them clean floors. Well, I do, but I mean, if you want to create flow of traffic, then yes, adding a little bit of dirt floor is nice. Okay, so there's that. We'll quickly add some changes. Someone wants me to add possum. You want me to add a little sparkle on the loot? Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. You convinced me. You convinced me. I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna do it. There needs to be sparkles on the loot. No exceptions. Okay. All right. Sparkle time, folks. Sparkle time. Do you know how important sparkles are? They're really important. I just want you to know. All right. Select copy. Move over. And put a little sparkly sparkle over here. Let's drop the saturation all the way down. Okay. The little sparkle right here. Oh, yeah. Do it, baby. Do it. Uh-oh. Am I on the right layer? Did it work? Oh, you know. Oh, yeah, that works. That works. Make it a little bigger. There we go. Some sparkles. That loot is sparkly. I like them sparkly loots. Okay, I'm just letting you know right now. Okay, so we've added those filters, added a little bit of stuff in here. We still got some time, so let's add in some details. And let's maybe do something with this table here. We can maybe put some plates in there and then play with the shadows. Maybe even put some books and some stuff on there, because I kind of feel like there's nothing going on in here. Like if I was to play a campaign here on this, you know, there's nothing really special going on. So let's add in some stuff to this map to give it a little bit more character. Let's maybe put in like a map. So we got a nice little map right here, and you don't need to have any shadow at all unless you want to. I'm not going to put a shadow for this one. And I'm also going to drop it down to the right layer. So let's just say that there's a map right here. And then if you also go to weapon, I think there should be some stuff falling out. So let's add some drama, a little more drama to this table. Let's have a knife sticking into it. Let's have a couple other knives sticking in, like this pointing to a location on the map. Some other knives or swords or whatever it is on top of here. Oopsie, make sure we put it up a layer. So right here, overlapping, let's say over here. Let's do that, okay. And then also we'll want to play with that shadow. So I would do this, copy paste this one. Actually, let's just use this one. And let's take it a layer below. Let's flip it like this. And let's see where our shadow is going. What about there? Let's place it down below. There we go. Shadow should be projecting. Drop that brightness all the way down. And of course, drop that. There you go. So now you have this nice sword shadow projecting away from the light source. Nice. What is the highest resolution that we can export these maps? 8K. 8K. Check it out. Export. HD. HD is going to be 4K by default. Boom. 8K. Boom. 8K. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of HD. That's so much HD. I don't know what to do with that much HD. Okay, so we've got this. Let's add some blood too. Let's say like a brawl took place, right? Let's add a little bit more character. Blood for the blood god. More blood for the blood god. Okay, so there's a blood from this different style in fantasy. I think this one is from watercolor battle maps, and then there's this blood splatter from Fantasy Regional HD. Let's just use this one. I kind of like these. There's some nice ones with some drag marks and stuff. So let's just put some blood down. Let's go up, all the way up to layer 4 for now. let's just say someone's head got bashed in against this table. I know, I said that so nonchalantly. I know, you don't have to tell me. Someone's head just got bashed right here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and then put a body right there. So let's go put in a corpse or body. Frozen corpses, there's a corpse there. You know, I think we have some better ones, some better bodies in better bodies. We have some better bodies in Gothic horror. Let me just check. Is it Gothic horror? Where are you? I will find you. Where? Oh, there, right here. Perfect. Okay. So this guy, and the way that you want to make sure that you get it right is to check his bum, check out his bum, and then put his bum over the stool so that you know how big his bum is. I mean, whether or not it's meant for that stool. I'm sorry. So about this size, let me just verify with the door. Yeah, okay. All right, this looks good. Let's do this right here. You could put it like this, but then it doesn't really look right. So let's put it like this. Okay, so he fell down. Let's also make sure we get the shadow right. Let's move it a little bit to the left and a little bit down because it's projecting away from the fireplace. Let's also make him a little bit darker because he's on the ground. And then let's also add some blood on top where his head is, and a lot of blood. And I mean a lot because he just got his head bashed in. So we got to put some blood in there. Sorry, dude, this is not your day. I am sorry. You can even add some, like, I don't know, maybe some, like, scraping or something. Something got scraped along there or something. I don't know. Maybe this way, like this. I don't really know. Do that. Yeah, that works fine. Let's just do that. Let's just do that. Okay. Let's just add in some little ones around here, like over here. Okay, and we'll add some blood splatter over here. Just want to make a little bit of a mess. Okay, this is a messy. It's messy. Okay, let's put some blood there. Yeah. Oh man, blood for the blood gods. Yeah, it happened right there. So it's there, and then also I think under spells there should oopsie. Make sure that I also select all that. Go to spell. We could also make it look like, or explosion actually. Explosion. I mean, his head didn't explode, but I mean, because it's still there. But you could put like a little mark that looks like he got hit there or something. You could do that. Like this is where he got hit. Boom! We don't know who did it. It's a crime scene. We're gonna have to put up the caution tape. Okay, caution tape. Put up some caution tape. Okay, this is a crime scene. Don't enter here. No entering's a crime scene. Oh wait a minute. No, this is a problem. No, that's not real. That's not real tape. It was a pie fight? Oh man, that is a pie fight that totally went wrong. I'm just going to say right now, that is not the kind of pie fight. What's in that pie? Bricks? Is it a brick pie? Is it a stone pie? I mean, what is it? Yeah, we got to quarantine this off of you. You're not allowed to be in here. No. Okay, yeah, I got to do a little market. So the crime scene, everyone's ready, okay? Right. It just didn't go well. Oopsie, I think I deleted a whole bunch of good stuff. Not bad. Let's delete that. This is our crime scene. Yeah! Make some saves here. Maybe it was just a pie fight. Yeah. What kind of pie fight are you talking about here? Take some changes. We'll add a little bit more character. We got 15 minutes left. Let's just add some, just spice it up. Who did that? Who killed this guy? Maybe we should add like, maybe something spooky. Like, let's say, let's try something different. I got an idea. Let's make it to where there's just an evil spirit in the fireplace. Okay, let's just say there's an evil spirit in the fireplace. Let's do that. So I'll change all the light sources. I'll change the light sources to a different color, and then I think it should all be light. Let me make sure all the light, and we're gonna switch the color up and make it a little bit more eerie. So go to filters and go to hue, and we'll say there's some evil spirits. And if it's not green enough, there's things that you can do. These light sources might not be good enough, so let's delete them. And then let's go use a more HSB friendly light source. So if you go back into light, there should be an orange light. The orange lights are much more HBC friendly. So let me just place the light there first here like this. It's going to be orange, and then we're going to switch and change it to the hue. Let's make it green. Okay, and then let's also add another green one in the center here like this. And I am going to drop it down, make it not so that you have some eerie green. Let's also transform it, squeeze it up. There we go. Make it smaller, and then put the green in here. Okay, and then I'm also going to create some tendrils coming out. I mean, the pie fight sounds good. I don't know how to make a brick pie. I don't know how that works. Anyone know how to make a brick pie? Nobody? I didn't think so. Let's go make some green tendrils coming out of the fireplace as if there's some kind of fire demon. Maybe that, ooh, I know. I got it. The head of that elk, its spirit is still there, and it's killed that guy because he killed him and used him for dinner. So now it's revenge. I'm going to bash your head in for hitting me with a bow and arrow, you jerk. So that's what's happening right now. That elk's getting revenge. Haha, next time you'll be a vegetarian, won't you, Mr. Dwarf person? So now we'll add in this. So we're going to add in little tendrils kind of coming out like this, eerily. And we're also going to change that blend mode. Let's just switch through. Let's say overlay should work just fine. I like it. We'll add in a couple here. We'll add some big ones first, some larger ones, and then we'll drop them down and add in some smaller ones like this. These tendrils are coming out eerily, going after this guy. You've been a naughty. All right, there we go. Ooh, spooky. And then we'll also add in some sparks. I don't know if you've ever been in a room and there's like dust floating. You can kind of see. You can kind of see particulates floating in the air that get hit by the light. And so I'm going to just put some sparks around most of my light sources like this so that you can kind of see the particulates glowing a little bit. One here should be fine. And we'll put one over here like this. And I'm actually going to transform this a bit like this, and then also change the opacity. There we go. And then we'll add another one in here. Over here, you see some particulates here. Okay, that looks fine. And then we'll put one here as well, because you'd expect a little bit there. So maybe this place is a little dusty, okay? All right, I mean, cut me some slack, okay? The place is dusty. It's dusty. It's dusty in here. Maybe should we put a broom in here somewhere to kind of clean this up? Ha, you should have been a vegetarian. I don't feel bad for you. I don't. All right, so far so good. Let's just go ahead and make some changes. We can take a look at it. I do like the pie fight idea. Oh, next time I do one, I'm definitely going to have a lethal pie fight. You know, like there's razor blades in this one. It's a no hands pie contest. You just got to boom, slam your face in. Razor blade pie, mwah, delicious. For your enemy, that is, not for you, but for your enemy, yeah. Dive right into that razor blade pie. It's yours. Eat it up. Delish. All right, so far so good. Yeah, I actually like the green. I think that really kind of helped, made it a little bit more spooky, made it a little bit more eerie. I'm digging. Just toss a rug over. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, how are we going to hide this body? Okay, well, I mean, just take a rug here and I don't know. I mean, maybe we can just like put like a circular rug over them. Just, hey, you're not here anymore. Oh, wait, the opacity, I need to fix that. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna... This is how I normally, like, dispose of my bodies. I just, you know, put a rug over it. Like, hey, you didn't see nothing. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. You can't see nothing. Yeah, Squid Game pie fight. Change the blend mode. I don't know, maybe if we change the blend mode, it'll make it look like there's a body underneath the rug. I don't know. It's worth giving it a shot. Maybe it'll work. No, epic fail. Whoa! It's like he's in a different dimension, right? Woo! Ooh, he's purpley. Ooh, I like purple dwarf. Ooh, that's so nice. I don't want to get rid of it. He's all purpley. Like something happened. Like, ooh, yikes. I don't know. I kind of want to keep it. What are you, my landlord? Yes, yes, yes. The landlord. Your rent is due. Razor Bay pie. All right, well, that is it for the stream. It is 10 minutes till. I think I've explained much of it. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask myself. I can stay for the next 10 minutes, answer some questions that you have, or if there's some changes on the map that you want to make. But I do hope that I did a thorough review of how shadows work. Just do a quick overview. There are 3 or 4 ways that I know of for shadows. Painting is the most obvious one. Or I'm sorry, object shadows are the obvious one. And object shadows are great because you can control the X and Y offset. You can see that here where we did this, so always remember that. You can also do painting. As you can see, we did painting in here by adding in shadows. We also used stamps for shadows. That includes light sources, mist, clouds, fog. All of those, when you drop the brightness to 0, making it black and dropping the opacity, can be used to darken areas on your map. Just like light sources can lighten up, they can also darken up certain areas. You can also use that path tool. Or I'm sorry, let's stick with the object tool. You can use these pine trees like we did right here to create elongated shadows. Just remember there's a caveat when doing that. Shadows will overlap and it will be darker. One thing I didn't really cover was 2 light sources. So I apologize for that. Maybe we can cover that in another video. And then there's also the path tool to create both your shadows and your highlights. Okay, so you can use the path tool for both. With the path tool, make sure it's black color. If it's a highlight, make sure it's whatever color you want. Obviously, if you have a green overlay, if you have green, you can take. Let's go ahead and just show you what I mean real quick. Let's go to path and just select these right here. Let's change that color. Let's see here. Where are the light ones? Is it this one? Where are those light ones that I had? I do not see them. Oopsie. Okay, so let's actually do a green one real quick. Let's just select this one. I'm going to quickly do some green highlights on the table. I think someone actually suggested that. Oh, lots of great tips. I hope so. That's what I want. I want to provide lots of tips. Let's just go and put a green like this, and let's drop the opacity. There we go. So just keep in mind that whenever you do a highlight, make sure that you use the right color. So obviously, if you're trying to do a green highlight for a green, if you have a light source that's green, the highlights need to be green. If you're doing a red light source, make sure your highlights are red. If it's yellow, yellow. Okay. So just kind of keep that part in mind. That you could put all kinds of green, eerie light sources just along this person if you wanted to. And I feel bad for them. Actually, I don't feel bad for them. You could add in more green if you want to make it pop out, okay? So just keep that part in mind. And then don't forget that your natural lighting is going to be a different color than your unnatural lighting. So your moon, if you're going to do a moonlight, I'd go with a white or blue if you wanted to make it a little bit more different, okay? And then also don't forget that if you are making an interior that has an exterior, that you can do that light source. A lot of times if you're doing an interior, you might just have it be black and you don't even have to worry about dealing with the exterior. Because if you just want to put emphasis on the interior, make this background all black instead. But I did both because I wanted to show how to do shadows with both interior and exterior. I'm really glad, Possum, that you got it. Ghost, boo. Yeah, I love it. All right, well, hey, that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please don't forget to join our Discord. Go ahead and check the chat for that. Also, I'll make sure that this map is clonable so that you can clone and edit it. I'll put it on my profile so you can go and change it if you want. Okay. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do YouTube videos every single Wednesday of the week, except for maybe some holiday stuff. So just always remember Wednesdays, 10 a.m. PDT. I also do streams on Discord. I was not recording them for a while, but I'm thinking now that I will start recording Discord streams as well and then transferring them over to YouTube. So if you want to check out those, go to our Discord. All right. And then for those on those dates, Mondays, 10 a.m. PDT. It's not every Monday, it's every other Monday. Go check the calendar for the events to check and see what streams are, when they are. There is an event option in the Discord server. Channels to the left, go to the top, events. The way that I set it up is at the beginning of every month, I schedule every single stream in the event section. And then there's just a YouTube link going to our channel. On the day of the stream, I will actually put the link to the stream in the event so that you can click it and go right to it. Don't forget to be interested. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the notification bell. Don't forget to also click the like. And also, if you want to see future videos like this one, please let us know in the comments below what videos you want to see. I will often try to put polls. We did a poll recently on YouTube to where everyone said, a majority of people, 34%, wanted to have more and more battle maps. So we'll do more battle maps, and I'll also be able to put another poll saying what kind of battle maps you want. Exterior, interior, is it going to be caverns, dungeons, whatever. So look for that poll. I'll put that out today. So again, thank you so much, everybody. I had a great time. Really enjoyed chatting with all of you and seeing you. And I hope to see you again next Wednesday or Monday at Discord. Thank you so much. Merry map making, and please stay safe and healthy. Happy holidays. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much, everybody.